She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Because while you were busy trying to figure out what to say next, what joke to land, what question to ask, she was already telling you exactly how she felt. Not with her voice, not with her words, with something far older, far more honest, and far more impossible to fake. Her hands. And you missed it. I know that stings a little. But here's the thing. It's not your fault. Nobody ever taught you this language. Nobody sat you down and explained that the most important conversation a woman will ever have with you happens completely in silence. A study published in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior found that over 90% of emotional communication between two people occurs without a single spoken word. 90%. Which means right now, today, in every interaction you've had with a woman you were drawn to, the real conversation was happening somewhere you weren't looking. That ends today. I'm a woman, and I'm going to tell you something that most women would never say out loud. We are not nearly as mysterious as men make us out to be. We give away an almost embarrassing amount of information through where our hands go, what we touch, and how our bodies move when we're around someone we actually want. The problem has never been that women are unreadable. The problem is that you've been trying to listen when you should have been watching. What I'm about to walk you through isn't recycled dating advice. This is real behavioral psychology, research from Harvard, Princeton, the Kinsey Institute, cross-referenced with body language analyses, and honestly, my own experiences as a woman who has done every single one of these things without even realizing it in the moment. But before we get into the first sign, I need to tell you something about the last one. Sign number 8. Because it's the one that has probably already cost you more than you realize. Most men see it and think, she's bored, she's not interested, she's ready for the conversation to end. They pull back, they wrap it up, they walk away. And they never know that what they just read as disinterest was actually one of the most intimate signals a woman can send. I'll explain exactly what it means and why it works the way it does, but only at the end. So don't go anywhere. Let's start at the top. The first place a woman's hands go when she's attracted to you is her hair, and I already know what you're thinking. Obviously, everyone knows that. But here's what you actually don't know. There is a world of difference between a woman brushing hair out of her face, because it's in her eyes, and a woman who keeps reaching up, twisting a strand around her finger, sweeping it slowly over one shoulder, specifically while she's standing in front of you. Dr. David Givens, who has spent over 30 years directing the Center for Nonverbal Studies, describes repeated hair touching during courtship as one of the most ancient and neurologically reliable signals in the human species. It's not a decision. It's not a calculated move. When attraction triggers dopamine and norepinephrine in the brain, it creates a surge of nervous energy, and the hands need somewhere to go. The hair is usually the first place they land. So here's the distinction that matters. Once, maybe she's just tidying herself up. But if it keeps happening, if she's twisting it, lifting it, pulling it across to one side to expose the side of her neck, that's not habit. That's her nervous system reacting to you. Her body doing something her mouth would never say. And that detail about the neck, that's not an accident. That leads us directly into the next sign. When a woman lightly touches her neck while she's talking to you, runs her fingers along her collarbone, rests her hand just below her jaw, something very specific is happening underneath the surface. The neck is one of the most vulnerable parts of the human body. Major arteries sitting close to the skin. From an evolutionary standpoint, exposing it, drawing attention to it, is a trust signal, a submission signal. It's her body saying, without a single word, I feel safe with you. I want you to notice me. Vanessa Van Edwards, who runs the Science of People Research Lab, found that neck touching in women during interactions with men they find attractive increases by nearly 300% compared to interactions with men they have no interest in. 300%. That is not a coincidence. That is biology being completely, helplessly honest. Here's something I'll admit from my own experience. When I catch myself touching my neck around a man I'm drawn to, I usually don't notice I've been doing it until the conversation is already over. It's almost embarrassing. It happens before conscious thought catches up. So if you see a woman doing this while she talks to you, trust it. Her body has already told you something her pride would never let her say directly. This next one looks small. It sounds almost too simple. But it is one of the most deliberately unconscious signals on this entire list. If a woman touches her lips, presses a finger lightly to them, bites her lower lip slowly, runs her tongue across them while holding eye contact with you, she is not just fidgeting, she is directing your attention, on purpose, even if she doesn't fully realize that's what she's doing. Research from the University of Manchester using eye tracking technology found that when men observe a woman's face, they spend roughly 43% of that time focused on the lips, especially when those lips are a contrasting color against the skin. Women have known this instinctively for thousands of years. That is literally why lipstick was invented, to make the lips impossible to ignore. So when she touches them in front of you, she is amplifying a signal that evolution already hardwired you to respond to. She is putting a spotlight on the exact part of her face she already knows you're looking at. If that is not an invitation, I genuinely don't know what one looks like. Now here's one that most men walk right past without a second glance. When a woman starts fidgeting with her jewelry, spinning a ring around her finger, pulling at an earring, sliding a necklace back and forth along its chain while she's talking to you, her nervous system is telling you something her face is trying to hide. Behavioral psychologists call this a self-soothing displacement behavior. It happens when the body is experiencing a surge of emotional arousal, excitement, nervousness, attraction, and needs somewhere to put all of that energy. The jewelry becomes the outlet. The ring, the necklace, the earring, they absorb what she can't yet express directly toward you. Dr. Albert Mehrabian's research on emotional communication found that self-touching behaviors increase significantly when a person is genuinely engaged and emotionally activated in a conversation. The more she's feeling, the more her hands need to move. And if those hands keep finding their way to a necklace that rests right at the top of her chest, she's not so subtly telling your eyes exactly where to look. I'll let you sit with that one for a moment. Everything up to this point has been about what she does to herself. This next sign is different. This one is about what she does to you. If a woman reaches out and touches your arm, grazes your shoulder, or briefly covers your hand while you're in the middle of a conversation, she has just crossed a very significant line. Physical contact between two people who haven't yet established intimacy is not casual. It doesn't happen by accident. A study from DePaul University found that a brief touch during social interaction increases the recipient's perception of warmth, trust, and attraction toward the person who initiated the contact. When she touches your arm, she's not just signaling interest. She is actively pulling you closer to her emotionally. She is building a bridge with one gesture. Here's what that moment actually feels like from her side. When I've touched a man's arm in conversation and he just stood there, no response, no acknowledgement, no mirroring, it feels like throwing something to someone who doesn't even raise their hands. You put yourself out there in one of the most vulnerable ways available to you without saying a word, and it lands like nothing. It's deflating in a way that's hard to describe. So if a woman touches your arm, don't freeze. Don't overthink it. Lean in. Mirror it. Because she just told you everything you needed to know, and she did it without opening her mouth. The only question left is whether you're paying attention. This next sign is the one I call the quiet confession, and almost no man ever notices it. Watch what she does with whatever she's holding. A glass at a bar, a coffee cup across a table, even a pen in her hand. If she's slowly tracing her finger around the rim, running a fingertip up and down the stem of a wine glass, rotating the cup in her hands while she holds eye contact with you, that is not an absent-minded habit. Joe Navarro, a former FBI behavioral analyst and one of the leading researchers in nonverbal communication, has written extensively about object manipulation during conversation as a direct indicator of emotional engagement. What's happening in those moments is this: the physical energy of attraction has nowhere to go yet. The relationship hasn't reached the point where she can direct it toward you directly, so it flows into the closest object available. The glass gets all the attention she actually wants to give you. And if she's doing that while smiling at you, while holding your gaze, and you still aren't sure if she's interested, I say this with nothing but warmth, watch this video again. This one is easy to miss because it looks like vanity. It isn't. When a woman starts adjusting her clothes around you, smoothing her skirt, straightening her top, checking that everything is sitting the right way, she is not being vain. She is preening. And preening is one of the oldest courtship behaviors that exists across the entire animal kingdom. Evolutionary biologist Jeffrey Miller has drawn direct parallels between this behavior in humans and the way birds groom themselves in the presence of a potential mate. It is not about insecurity, it is about presentation. On a biological level, she is making sure she is showing you her best self, because you matter enough to her that she cares what you see. The context is everything here. If she was adjusting her outfit before you arrived, that's just self-care. But if she starts doing it after you walk in, or while she's already standing in front of you, that behavior is for you. She wants to make sure that what you're looking at is the best version of her that she can offer in that moment. And the fact that she cares that much, specifically about how she looks to you, tells you more than almost anything else on this list. Now, sign number 8, the one I told you about at the beginning. The one most men completely misread. The one that, once you understand it, is going to reframe interactions you thought you already understood. When a woman rests her chin in her hand while you're talking, cradles her own face, or gently touches her cheek while she's listening to you, most men read that as checked out. Bored. Politely enduring the conversation until she can excuse herself. It is almost never that. What she's doing has a name: facial framing, and it is one of the most intimate self-touch signals in the entire nonverbal vocabulary. Dr. Monica Moore of Webster University conducted a landmark study observing over 200 women in real social settings, cataloging more than 50 distinct nonverbal flirting behaviors. Facial self-touching, chin resting, cheek cradling, ranked in the top 10 most frequently observed signals among women who were actively attracted to the man in front of them. Here is why it works the way it does. When a woman frames her face with her hands, she is unconsciously pulling your attention toward her eyes, her expressions, the small movements of her face. She is saying, "Look at me. Really look at me." It's soft. It's vulnerable. It is the kind of thing that only surfaces when someone has let their guard down enough to stop performing and start actually feeling something. Which means if you've ever been sitting across from a woman, she's resting her chin in her hand, her eyes are soft and fixed on yours, she's smiling at something you said, and some part of you thought she might be bored? She wasn't bored. She was already somewhere else entirely. She was already imagining something, and you were in it. You didn't miss a signal. You missed a moment. Here's what all 8 of these signs have in common. Not one of them involves a single word. We live in a world that teaches us to listen, to what people say, how they phrase things, what they choose to tell us. But the body doesn't wait for permission to speak. It moves before the mind catches up. It tells the truth before pride or fear or social pressure gets a chance to edit it. A woman's words might tell you she's just being friendly. Her hands will tell you something else entirely. Her neck, her lips, the way she reaches toward you, the way she frames her own face while she watches you talk. That's the real conversation. That's always been the real conversation. You have this now. That's not a small thing. So the next time you're standing in front of a woman and you notice her pulling her hair across her shoulder, or touching her neck, or resting her chin in her hand while she holds your gaze, don't stand there trying to figure out the right thing to say. She's already told you how she feels. The only question left is whether you're going to meet her halfway, because she's been waiting at that bridge longer than you realize.